Hey y'all, and welcome to Monner's Market, and welcome to the Coastal Inspired Easy DIYs series number 2. Now, I know I told y'all I was going to be doing the bee and sunflower number 2 this weekend, but things change. Life gets crazy, and it didn't happen. So I'm going to go ahead with number 2 in this series of the Coastal Inspired DIYs. And then hopefully we'll get back into the sunflowers and bees next week. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there before we get started. So now let's jump right on into DIY number 1. So for DIY number 1, I have these cute little wooden mini buoys. Now, you can get these little blocks right here from the Dollar Tree all the time. And I recently found some after looking for months and months and months, and I could never find any. So I found some when I was doing my Easter challenge that I did. So anyway, what I wanted to do is take these little blocks and drill a hole straight down the middle of them. And they are solid. I thought once I started drilling, I would find that they were not solid wood, but they are. It's soft wood, but it's not solid wood. So I got my hole drilled right down in the middle of them. And I thought I was going to be able to use this nautical rope here to go down in the middle of it, but it ended up being too fat. And I tried everything in the world to make it work because that's what I wanted to use with it, but it just wouldn't work. So I ended up using the blue and white striped nautical rope to make this little buoy, and it actually ended up perfect because I've been using that blue and white nautical rope on everything else. So I drilled my hole straight down the middle of all 4 of these little blocks, and once I got the hole drilled, I went back in with the sanding sponge and just kind of wiped off and got everything on there sanded down and smooth. So once I got those all sanded down and ready to paint, I took them inside and started painting. Well, no, before I started painting, I took that nautical rope and threaded it through one of them just to make sure that it was going to work. And I was so tickled to find out that it was perfect for the hole that I had drilled. So I put it in there, and it was an absolute perfect fit, and it threaded through very easily. So what I did is I took 2 of these and painted them with the Waverly white chalk paint. Well, I say painted them, but I kind of like distressed them more or less. And then I took the other 2 and I used the ocean color, which is kind of like the navy color in the Waverly chalk paint. And I just sort of, kind of went through there and wiped it on, almost like I was cleaning my brush off. Does that even make sense? You can see what I'm doing here. I didn't give it a good, solid coat of paint because I wanted it to look old and weathered and make it look like it had been out in the sun and in the salt water forever and ever. And I think I succeeded at that with the way it turned out. So make sure you leave me a comment and let me know what you think about how my paint job turned out on these little mini buoys, if they looked like they were old and worn or not. So once I got them painted and they dried, I threaded it through, making a knot at the very bottom of each block and then at the top of each block. And I left about 1.5 inches in between each little buoy or block, whatever you want to call it. And I did that because if you've ever been to the ocean, then you see these things floating in the water all the time. And they're just that. They're floats. They're little things that when you throw a trap or something out and you got to go back and find it, you have these little things right here and they float to the top. So that's kind of like your little marker to be able to go back and find where you threw your trap out. And this is how that turned out, and I just thought it was too cute. Now, I started to put a word on there but I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to put. I didn't know if I wanted to put a phrase or a word or just a couple pictures, but I just kind of left it at that. Now, DIY number 2, I fell in love with. I took this little house that you can get at the Dollar Tree, and I took that little spongy, what is that, a starfish off. And once I got that off, I took the same ocean paint and painted the front of that little sign. And once I got it painted and it dried, I had this little thing that I have never seen before, and it is just little glass stickers. And one of them happened to be nautical themed. I have looked in every stinking Dollar Tree in my area since I found this one, and I can't find him anywhere. But if I can find me some more, I'm sure enough going to snatch them up, because it totally transformed this little house in 2 seconds flat, and I love the way this turned out. So I took them stickers and I placed them on there just like it was on the little page. And once I got them placed down, it was cute enough like that, but I wanted to add something else to it. So I kind of played around just a little bit with that same nautical rope, but I don't know, it just wasn't working for me. And I didn't like the nautical rope with that much blue on the picture. So I ended up taking some twine and just gluing it to the bottom, and I wrapped it around, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times. And once I got that done, I made me a little Sammy bow, or a little finger bow, for the top out of the twine, and hot glued it down, and that was it. That's all there was to making this cute little sign, and I think it just turned out adorable. Now, if you don't know what a Sammy bow is, Sammy over at Unicorn Dust Designs makes these little finger bows, and she calls them finger bows, but I call them Sammy bows. So if you ever get a free minute, go over and check her channel out, because she is phenomenal. She is hilarious, and you will absolutely love her channel. So anyway, I got my little Sammy bow done and attached it right there to the top, and that's all there was to making this little thing, and I just fell absolutely in love with it. I think that little sticker was perfect. And now I could have used my Cricut. I just got a Cricut Joy for, what did I get it for? My birthday, maybe? I don't know. There's so many things that happen so close together. I can't remember which holiday I got it for, but I want to say it was for my birthday, maybe. And I could have just as well used that to make this little thing, but it was so much easier as a sticker. So now let's jump on right into DIY number 3, and that is a little sign that I'm going to make for you. Now, I'm going to make it out of this little sign that I got at Easter time, and from the Dollar Tree, of course. And it was as simple as removing this little galvanized bunny. And now I did keep my bunny because it's as cute as it can be, and I stuck it in with my Easter stuff for next year. So I went in, I took the little string hanger off, and I also removed the paper from the front. Now, I don't show you that because it was a hot mess. I peeled and peeled and peeled, and I couldn't get it off, so I ended up having to wet it, and it finally all came off. So once it was all off and fairly well dried, you see it's a little wet on the edges, but I was over it and I was ready to get done. I took my White Waverly chalk paint again and just gave it a real rough, distressed whitewashing, if you will. It wasn't heavy-handed or anything, and I knew that I didn't want to make it a solid paint job so that it would, again, could look weathered and like it's been out in the air. Now, if you've ever been around salt air, it ruins everything. And I'm talking about everything. Your chairs, anything that's metal, it's going to ruin it. So it also eats off when the wind blows and that sand, the beach sand blows. It's like a daggum sand blaster, and it just eats everything away. It eats your paint jobs off your house and everything, but you just can't beat the beach, in my opinion. I love the beach. So I got this little stencil here from Walmart, and it came with a whole bunch of stencils for like $10. And I picked the little anchor, and I used that to just take that ocean colored paint and daub it all on there until it came out like this. Then I took the rest of what I had left over from that nautical rope and used that for a hanger instead of putting that little tiny piece of twine back on there to once again bring all my little pieces together and make it all match. And I love the way this picture turned out. So make sure you leave me a little comment down below and let me know what you think about this picture. Now also, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. Above everything, give me a big thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would be tickled pink if you would just hit that subscribe button. Then click that little bell and all so that you'll be notified every time I upload something new. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, all at Monner's Market. So there's those shameless plugs. So what I'm going to do now is show you everything all together that I made this week. And I love the way they turned out. They look old and weathered, and they are just too stinking cute in my opinion. So I'm also going to show you last week's DIYs along with this week's DIYs, so you can kind of see what they all look like here together. And there they are. That's the little tier tray that I made last week. And then those 3 little pictures that I'm going to show you over here to the left in just a sec, you'll be able to see. And this is what they all look like together so far for the 2 of the series that I've done. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and spending a few minutes with me to watch series number 2 in this coastal inspired DIY video. Y'all know I love you to death. I appreciate you coming. So don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment. I always try to answer you back. It might take me a little bit, but I answer you. And if you're not subscribed already, I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing if you like what you see. So I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.